In this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about codominant inheritance, okay? It's a very interesting topic. But before we get to that, I need to make sure you understand something. So real quick, we're going to review something. Right here, we have two beautiful flowers, okay? One pink, one yellow. They are the same species, but why are they different in color? Why is it? The answer lies in the DNA. So when we zoom into the cells and we go to the DNA, we can find a whole bunch of chromosomes, right? Now we take out the chromosome or the piece of DNA that is going to make this flower be yellow, okay? And we're going to take out the chromosome that's going to make this flower be pink. Now, the whole chromosome isn't the reason why it's yellow. It's a specific locus or a specific location. So it's this one here, okay? We're going to care only about this one here, okay? This location. Now we know that our DNA is inherited from our parents, a mix between our mom and our dad. So this chromosome pair here, one of it is from your mom and one is from the dad. So we can see that this flower got one allele for color that is yellow and one allele for pink, okay? That's interesting. So its mom or dad gave it a yellow color gene, and it's the other parent gave a pink color gene. On the contrary, for this flower, both parents gave the genetics or the gene for yellow. Yet this one got both alleles, yet it's pink. It's not yellow. Why was this one expressed and not this one? Or why wasn't it a mix? Okay? So, this type of inheritance is called Mendelian inheritance, and it works like this. You have two alleles for a specific trait, one from the mom, one from the dad. One of the alleles will be dominant. The allele can be dominant or recessive. Okay, in this case, pink is dominant, and yellow is recessive. So in the case of this flower, it has both a dominant and recessive allele. But because the dominant allele is the pink one, the flower will be pink. Okay. In the presence of a dominant allele, the recessive one doesn't even matter. It gets ignored. It gets masked. On the contrary, for this flower here, we can see it has both alleles that are recessive, and so it is pink. Okay, yellow. So the only way a recessive trait, in this case being yellow, can be expressed is if both alleles are recessive. Okay, so this is called, like I said, Mendelian inheritance. There is no such thing as a mix. You express one or the other. You can't express both, okay? Because there's the idea of dominant and recessive. That's why the flower can only be pink or yellow. It cannot be a mix. So now we're going to go on to something called codominant inheritance or non-Mendelian inheritance, okay? And if you get this, it should make a lot of sense what I'm about to say. So ignore this right here. Does it matter for you? So one example of a codominant type of inheritance is your hair shape. Okay, we know some people have curly hair, some people have straight hair, some people have wavy hair. So this is what I mean by hair shape. This specific characteristic is determined by codominant inheritance. And let me show you what that means. So here we have The Rock. We're choosing him because he's got no hair, so he's perfect. So we look into his cells and we go to his chromosome in his nucleus that is responsible for hair shape, okay? And we can see it's this specific chromosome, chromosome 1, specifically this location here, this locus here, okay? So, again, remember these are alleles of hair shape. One allele from the mom, one allele from the dad. So, by the way, here we have the different hairstyles, okay? So he can either be, we're gonna find out right now, but he can either, because we don't know, because he cut his hair off, but what is his real hairstyle? He can either have straight hair, he can have wavy hair, or he can have curly hair, right? Either of these. So we're going to find out right now, based on his genetics that we have right here on this chromosome, what he is supposed to have. So we can see, okay. So I'm going to tell you something here. What is the meaning of codominance? Codominance is when a specific trait, both alleles are dominant, okay? Both different alleles are dominant. Not one is more important than the other. They are both the same importance. Co means the same, and dominance means dominance, right? So they both matter the same. So because they both matter the same and we give it a letter, we know when we give a dominant trait a letter, it needs to be capitalized. Whereas if we give a recessive trait a letter, we need to make it lowercase. But because both of these alleles are dominant, we give it a capital H. Okay, H for hair in this case. It's just randomly assigned, okay? But they're both dominant, so we give them both capital H. Now, what is the meaning of this little C and this little S here? The C is trying to signify that this allele expresses curly hair, okay, curly, like this one. And S signifies that it expresses straight hair, okay? Now, what about wavy hair? There's no allele for wavy hair, so how can wavy hair happen? This is very interesting. So we can see that the rock's genetics has both an allele for straight hair, inherited from the mom, and one inherited from the dad that expresses for curly hair. Now, because they are codominant, this means they both need to be expressed. Not one is more important than the other. So what happens when you express both the genetics for curly hair and straight hair? You're gonna get a mix. What is a mix of curly and straight hair? Wavy hair. So that's how you get wavy hair. Okay, so in reality, the rock is gonna have wavy hair. Okay, the baby rock will have wavy hair. So that's what this idea of codominance is, because we saw with these flowers, they had to be either pink or yellow. They couldn't be a mix because one was more dominant than the other. But in our case here, they're both the same dominance. If both of these had the same dominance, then there should be able to be a mix between pink and yellow, but there's not, okay? So specific traits will have a different mechanism of inheritance. Some traits will have Mendelian inheritance, as I mentioned above with the flowers. Some may have codominant inheritance, and others may have other techniques, okay? So, I hope this makes sense so far. So my question now is, what would his hair be like if he had both of his alleles, let me move this. If both of his alleles were HC, then he would have curly hair, 100%. What if both of his alleles were HS? Then he would have what? I'm not going to do that again. But then they would have what? Both HS would be straight hair, okay? So that's how it works. So we're going to take a look at another example that is a little bit more complicated that you need to know, okay? And this is human blood groups. So if you get it so far, if you're up to date so far, this shouldn't be much more for you, okay? But let's get into it. So we're going to look at the same guy because why not? Okay, we're looking at the rock. And we're looking now at another chromosome, specifically chromosome 9, okay? Because chromosome 9 has the information for blood type. We all know that it's very important to know what blood type you are, because one day you may need a transfusion. You may need to borrow other people's blood. And if you get the wrong blood type, you could die. It's very important that you only get transfusions from people with the same blood type as you. And so blood type is a genetic thing, okay? So we're gonna look at this chromosome 9, okay? And specifically this locus determines what blood type you are. And like we know, blood type is a codominant inheritance. So let me show you what I mean. But it's a bit more tricky. Normally, we learned so far that there are two alleles normally, okay? Two types of alleles. But in blood type, there are three alleles. 1, 2, or 3, okay? So you can have either combination. You can have any combination of these three alleles, okay? So in this case, the rock has the allele, the brown allele, and the blue allele, which I'll say what that means just now. So basically, like I just said, we have three alleles. We have IB, IA, and small I, okay? In blood types, these two are codominant. And that's why we give them the capital I, because they are dominant, okay? But this one is IB and this one is IA. So when these two are expressed together, they will both be expressed. And I'll show you exactly what this means. With this one is recessive. So I is recessive, okay? So I'll give you many examples. Don't worry about this. So let's look at the rocks. So the rock has this allele and this allele. What is this allele? This allele is IB. It's a dominant one, okay? And then he has this one, this recessive one. This one is recessive, meaning when it's next to a dominant one, it will not be expressed. So by this logic, what blood type will he have? So here's a little chart, okay? If you express a dominant one with a recessive one, you're going to be the dominant one. So if he is this one. He has IB and I. That's his genotype, meaning he is type B blood group. Now let's switch it up a little bit. Let's say he had this. What would his blood type be now? So now he's expressing both IA and IB. Okay, so he is, since they are codominant, meaning they're both expressed, he will be AB blood group, because both A and B need to be expressed, right? That makes sense. So let me show you what it means when something is expressed. So here we have red blood cells, okay? Now your red blood cells have little things on them, little like tattoos, sort of, okay? You can think of them as tattoos or markers. Now, we know the rock here is going to be IB. He's expressing IB and I, but I is recessive compared to the dominant IB, so he's going to be blood type B. This means his red blood cells will express the B antigen, so he will have these kind of red blood cells, okay? Now, if we do this, right, we bring this one here, or let's actually do it different. Let's say this was his scenario. He had IA and I, meaning he was blood group A. Then his blood cells will look like this. They will have a different tattoo, a different one, okay? And then lastly, what if his genetics had both IA and IB? Then he would be AB blood group. He would be AB type, and his red blood cells will therefore have both of the tattoos, the B and the A, okay? Because his genetics make him make both of those. Now lastly, if you have both recessive, both I, then since there's no dominant one, you're gonna be I. And being both I means that you make no tattoos. You're gonna be empty. You're gonna be a naked red blood cell, okay? So that is the 4 different types of blood groups you can be based on this idea, this codominant idea of inheritance, okay? And why is this important? Why do we care about all these tattoos or markers that we're talking about? We care about them because when you, for example, let's say you're this blood type, okay? Your body recognizes if your blood group O that your blood cells have no tattoos, and it's used to that. And if you suddenly get a blood group A person, or a blood group B or a blood group AB person, then your body is going to be so surprised and be like, what are all these markers? Oh, we don't recognize these cells, so we got to kill them. And so that's going to be so bad because now your body is going to kill all of this blood you're being given, and it's going to be useless, okay? So that's why it's important to understand this idea of blood type, okay? I hope this makes sense. So we went step by step. We went from the most Mendelian simple method, then we went to the codominant idea where both alleles can be dominant, and this could make a mixed trait. And then lastly, we had an idea of codominance, but there's 3 alleles. It was possible to have even 3 alleles, okay? So this is as complicated as it's gonna get for you regarding codominance, okay? So I hope this made sense for you.